Drinking this album, listen to the brews. I think it would pair well, if only for you, 'cause it's Album ReBrews. It's Album ReBrews. It's Album ReBrews.
Sorry, you might have had some trouble hearing me. I was wearing a muzzle of bees. Hello, folks, and welcome back to Album ReBrews, the stickiest music podcast, maybe because of all the honey. I am one of your hosts. My name is Sarah.
All I have to say is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One time in Germany, I said 9.
Really?
My name is Zach. I've never been to Germany.
Hello, my name's John Kehl from the Song Surfing Podcast, and my goal in life is to be an echo. Echo.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, John, for coming on today. You are also a music podcaster. Tell us a little about that.
All right, so my podcast, Song Surfing, is a music discovery show. And the whole theme is I search the internet, I surf the internet for independent music, so indie music from around the world, but not just indie genre, indie, independent artists. And I try to find artists from all different backgrounds, from all over the globe, and pretty much every genre, as long as I personally like the genre, I guess. And I try to every episode have a diverse selection of 4 to 6 tunes for the audience to hear, and we go song surfing together. It's a lot of fun getting to introduce folks to some artists that they may have not normally come across.
We love it.
That's awesome.
Are there any genres that are just like blacklisted?
Not so much. It really depends on what the particular band or artist does. Mm-hmm. I personally am not real into hard rock, so it has to be something, if it's like a Van Halen style song, like it's got to have something really special about it, I think, to click with me. Unfortunately, a lot of the songs like that I've come across have kind of just been, bro rock, right? And that doesn't appeal to me at all. And I had a couple white rappers that were sent me songs with racial slurs in them, so I don't know.
Oh, that's
definitely not.
That is off the table.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure why they thought it was okay.
Right.
I don't know. But no, I mean, I for most of my life have really been pretty open to a lot of different types of music, and I don't know. I like music that's a little weird, a little different.
Off the beaten path.
Yeah. And so the more of that I can find, the better.
Totally.
How do you find it usually? Do you take recommendations, right?
Yeah, recommendations. So that's a big help. I spend a lot of time just looking on all the sites. A lot of time on Bandcamp. Actually, Instagram has been great lately. Searching by hashtag like, in Chicago music scene, for example, that I've come across a lot of groups that way. But just trying to find like good hashtags to search for different cities or genres has produced a lot.
That's how we found you, was Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
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 I was just like, oh, man, this sounds like an awesome podcast.
Amazing.
And it is.
Well, I'm
Stars align.
glad that we came across each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. John, on your podcast, like you said, you have a lot of sort of off the beaten path artists that, top 40 radio listening folks might not be privy to. I would like to put your knowledge to the test with a segment that we have done, I think, only once before on the show. It was
a very good segment.
Well over a year ago, I think, at this point. But I went to IKEA today. And I'm bringing you a segment called IKEA Furniture or Swedish Band.
Okay,
where
this is great.
I am going to say a name of either a piece of IKEA furniture or a Swedish band. And both of you will be on a team.
Okay, great.
Trying to guess which is which.
I did really bad last time, so it's good we're on a team.
Yeah. You can work together.
Well, I already know Malm. And
Yes.
Torp.
Okay. Shit, that was that. No, that was not my list.
Is there a band called Swedish Meatballs?
There's a band called Lingonberry. Let's get into it. Thing number 1 is called Strala.
Can you use it in a sentence?
The first item on this list is Strala.
Could be a list of bands or a list of furniture. That
Oh,
didn't
my
help.
goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm I'm going to be guessing,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's got to be from IKEA.
What do you think, Zach?
There's like context clues underneath, right? Like if I'm a band from Sweden, like do I have a pretty name or do I have like it's a metal music, right? So I don't think Strala is very metal sounding from a Swedish metal band. So I'm going to say furniture also.
You think it's furniture?
Yeah.
Both of you are correct. It is an IKEA item. It is a LED table lamp base. And as a fun fact, I don't have
Which
translations.
would also make a great band name.
It would. I don't have translations for all of these, but it's like sort of common knowledge that some IKEA items like translate to sweet little Swedish words.
Oh, sure.
So this one, Strala, translates to beam, which is cute because it's a lamp.
That is nice.
Good
Beam
job.
is a good band
Number
name.
1. Number 2 is Edson.
Oh my gosh.
Any first intuitions, John?
It sounds too easy to say to be from IKEA.
Sure.
I feel like, well, I guess I said Malm earlier, but I feel like a lot of IKEA names are multiple syllables.
I think you're right. I think it might be more of a band name.
You're both correct.
Nice. We're
All
so
right.
good
It
at this,
is
John.
a band. Edson is a Swedish indie rock band. I'm going to play a little bit of their song called Minus Minus Equals Plus.
Wait until the morning comes. Wait until it's bittersweet. Park the car without a sound.
That sounds like it should be called Edson.
Yeah. Wow, you guys are on a roll. Okay. Thing number 3 is Vanmacht.
Oh, that sounds German.
I know. It's pretty close to Sweden, right?
Yeah. Yeah. To the listeners at home, please forgive my pronunciation. I'm not Swedish at all, but Vanmacht.
Von is usually like part of a surname, right?
Okay.
Oh.
Well, I would guess a band then.
Yeah, let's go band.
You're correct. Vanmacht is a band. In Swedish tradition, it is a black metal band, metal being a very popular genre in Sweden, and this is their song Death Upon Death.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, I want to hear more of that.
We'll make a Spotify playlist. Thing number 4 is Edvala.
So the last time Edson was a band,
And everyone knows things with Eds are always bands.
Ed Sheeran.
Uh-huh.
I don't know who Ed Hardy is. That's not a band.
Isn't that a clothing designer?
Ed and Eddie.
Eddie Van Halen.
Eddie Van Halen is a band.
Oh,
Okay, so we
no.
got 2 bands so far.
Edson
Edson
is a
and Eddie
third.
Van Halen.
What was the word again?
This one is Edvala with a V.
I mean, that would be a perfect goth rock band.
Yeah, like
maybe it's-
Valhalla.
Maybe it's IKEA, though.
I bet it's more metal.
Okay.
I'm wishfully thinking because I want to hear more Swedish metal.
Yeah, let's go with that. But I'm also thinking it could, maybe it's a wardrobe
Ooh.
or a curtain rod.
I need an answer locked and loaded in 3, 2,
All right, we'll
1.
go curtain rod.
Curtain rod. You know what? You're very close. It is an IKEA item.
Yeah.
When you said wardrobe, so Edvala is the name of a drawer pull for cabinets.
All right.
It's the little knob. Next is Pluxus.
Oh my gosh.
Pluxus.
Fluxus.
You pluxus a guitar when you make music.
That
True.
word is fun and uncomfortable to say at the same time. Fluxus.
Pluxus.
Like our podcast sometimes.
It reminds me of Fluxus, which is like an experimental art music genre, I think from the 70s.
Okay, I'm not familiar with it.
I don't think it's related at all, but that's what I'm associating it with. So
That's close enough for me. You want to say band?
yeah, let's try band.
That was a great guess. Pluxus is a band. I really liked this style of music. It's just kind of a fun, upbeat electronic band. This is their song Rodval Blaval.
It's a good word.
Good title.
game soundtrack vibes.
Very cool.
Wow, you guys are really on a roll. I think you've gotten
missed one.
every single one correct.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think this deserves a spin-off podcast. IKEA and Swedish band theme.
We can make it happen.
Yeah.
It'll be like a Paul Blart Markov.
I
We'll do it
love
like once a
going
year.
on the IKEA website. I do it happily every day. All right, we got a couple left. This next one is Melosa. And I would like to say that there are 2 dots over the O in Melosa.
I'm feeling a lot of pressure now because we haven't missed
I know.
one.
Post Melosa. Fancy glass vibes or like drinkware.
Malos. Yeah, okay.
Oh, like a mimosa?
or
Yeah.
possibly a towel set.
Sure.
towel
The
set.
sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It could really be anything. So we think this is an IKEA item.
I think IKEA.
The streak lives on.
right.
Melosa is a clear picture ledge.
Oh.
And did not have a translation. All right, 2 left.
Okay.
Let's see if we can go 8 for 8. I'll be
so
because honestly, you guys really took a poop on the last one, so I'm thrilled to
right.
see this go so well. Number 7 is Sannex. It's spelled SANNEX with no accent marks.
To me, that sounds like a band name, but
I think I'm leaning towards band.
it doesn't sound like an IKEA word. It doesn't have the prettiness to it.
It's not very consumer friendly.
Yeah.
You're correct. It is a
Dude,
band.
We've cracked your IKEA
You
code.
literally- I don't know.
Is
My laptop is turned away from them, guys.
Does this word have good mouthfeel? That's probably an IKEA word.
So this is Sannex. They're a pop rock band, and this is their song "Komma till dig."
Okej. Du snackar om ditt, du snackar om det, bara klagar. På stort och på smått, och alltid på väder och vind.
Swedish kind of sounds like Simlish.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of when I was listening to that. What's the ABBA song? Does Your Mother Know? It sounds so similar to that, which I was also Swedish.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's great.
Yeah, defo. Last one.
All right,
Let's
here we
see
go.
if we can get a clean sweep. Number 8 is
I don't know if my heart can handle this.
The pressure.
Coma.
That's important.
K-H-O-M-A. Coma.
Well, at first I was going to say I don't think that IKEA would name anything coma.
Like see it.
Yeah. I was
We
imagining.
wouldn't want those associations.
Uh-huh. We've got an interesting spelling here.
Definitely a Swedish word.
Ostensibly, these are all Swedish words.
It's Swedish for coma. I mean, that's a possibility.
It could be.
So maybe
That's a good
it's
death
a metal band.
Should we go metal
Yeah,
band?
let's go
metal
for it.
band.
You guys got a clean fucking sweep. And not only that, Coma is an alt metal band from Sweden. This is their song called Osiris. So
That opening couple beats there sounded like Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song.
Oh,
Just the way it kicks in real heavy.
yeah, put you in a coma. Thank you so much for playing and really exceeding at IKEA Furniture or Swedish Band. Until next time, I'm your host, Sarah.
I'm so impressed by that. We've never done that on a game. We
Yeah.
play a lot of games.
That was some real synergy.
It was really amazing. I'm so impressed. So from one Swedish thing to another, no, not quite.
I think Bellevue, Illinois is the farthest place from Sweden imaginable.
Yeah, let's get into this freaking album. So John, you picked our pick this week. Would you give the folks at home a little intro to the album we're going to talk about today?
Sure. So I chose Wilco's A Ghost Is Born, which to me is the best Wilco album.
Oh.
And for me, it's the trio of albums, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, Ghost Is Born, and Sky Blue Sky, that are among the greatest albums that have ever been recorded. I'm a big Wilco fan, but I don't know, those ones really just stand out. And hearing from album to album how the band evolved over the course of those three is fun too. Although I did a pretty deep dive getting ready for this appearance on this podcast, I'm not really, and I do consider myself a big Wilco fan. I'm not an obsessive when I find music, an album, or a band that I like. I really just kind of like, it's rare that I look up lyrics. Unless I want to learn the song on guitar, I don't learn all the songs, unless I feel really inspired to. But I'm not like a super fan, right?
Yeah.
To that degree. I kind of just listen to the album obsessively, though, right? So I feel like I really gotten to know the music, and I really have a lot of associations with this album in different periods of my life. And I think that's really the connection for me with my favorite albums are how it relates to what was going on in my life at the time when I discovered it or rediscovered it. And so that was fun to kind of relive some of those memories as I was revisiting this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so cool how albums can kind of be like a time capsule for those emotions you had, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this one, I had gotten into probably, I think it was shortly after it had come out, and a friend of mine I had heard of Wilco, but I wasn't familiar with them at all. And a friend of mine was really into them. It had burned CDs of Yankee Hotel Foxtrot and A Ghost Is Born. It put together a lot of pieces of the puzzle for me in terms of like what a band could sound like. And I was really into blues and jazz at the time. Okay. And although you wouldn't call this a jazz album, I think there are a lot of similarities, into how the band interacts. And
Sure.
I was in college at the time, a music student, so I was pretty immersed in classical music, and you can find a lot of connections with that too. So for me, like being interested in all these different genres, playing classical a lot, playing classical guitar, playing rock in a band I was in, this and Yankee Hotel Foxtrot kind of like tied together all of those threads.
Yeah. Yeah, this album really does kind of stretch and flirt around the boundaries of, and this was released back in like 2004, which it's not like a quote unquote like classic vintage album by any means, but it is flirting with like the boundaries of what a rock band at the time could be. Like there's viola on this album.
The boundaries. There's a 12-minute drone.
Right. Like they're really doing their thing from track to track.
Yeah.
You're also a Wilco guy. What was your take on this album?
Yeah, I got into Wilco much later than people should. They should be born and get introduced to Wilco, I think. But I got into Wilco in college. And I was really into Yankee Hotel Foxtrot, really into Sky Blue Sky, but I never actually listened to this one. I know they've got like 10 albums. I don't actually know.
A lot, yeah.
A lot. And they should go through all of them, but I haven't yet. So yeah, it was really cool to hear this one and how it compares to those other two big ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good.
And we have an interesting pairing for today's episode. Our first ever non-beverage pairing, but a pairing nonetheless.
Definitely not our first food on the pod.
That's true. We've snacked on the pod quite a few times.
Well, I'm glad that this could be the first. Was that the first time that you had someone win the game also? Or a perfect score?
Honestly,
It's the first
perfect
time.
score, definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely perfect score, John. You
Very
are here
good, very good.
making
You're
your
killing
presence
it.
known. You are going down in Album ReBrews history.
Well, and then it's going to be a letdown when you find I have nothing to say about the album. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's going to be a short episode. Thanks so much for listening, guys.
Just gonna eat chocolate.
You might want to edit out the next 30 minutes.
But tell us about this pairing. It looks awesome.
I don't drink. I don't drink anymore, I should say. And so chocolate is something that I've always loved, but I've gotten more into since I quit drinking. And this one I came across recently, and I was trying to find something that I thought represented the album in some ways. And so to me, my journey with A Ghost Is Born was first just loving the music and then getting to know the lyrics a little bit more. But like I said, I'm not a person that really looks up the lyrics.
Right.
I kind of just go with what I think the singer's singing, and I relate it to whatever I connect with. Like, I make my own connections with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how Jeff Tweedy kind of wants people to listen to Wilco's music, right?
Yeah.
But when I, in preparing for this, diving into the lyrics, following the words, reading the words as the song plays and trying to analyze what he might be singing about, like there's a whole other layer to my interpretation of the album as a complete work, right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to find a chocolate that could work on multiple levels like that, something that's just good, just delicious to start with. But then if you really try to savor it, or understand the complexities of it, it has something to offer there. What I brought in was Butler's Honeycomb Crisp, which I got from, it's a grocery store on Lincoln Avenue in Lincoln Square. And it's a grocery store and meat market, and I'm blanking on the name now.
I know this place. Oh my God.
Jeans, yeah. And that's a fun place to accidentally spend way more money than you meant to.
Absolutely.
They have so much fun imported food.
Yeah, it's
there.
like Willy Wonka type shit in there.
Yeah.
But with fun spirits and snacks and meats and sweets.
So we took my kid and I took multiple visits there this week and came home with different chocolate and these interesting little, I think from Sweden actually, little candies that look like, it's like raspberry and blackberry candy, but they look like real raspberry and blackberry, but it's candy.
Nice.
Yeah,
Cool.
so
That sounds yummy.
yeah, it's a little adventure going there. But anyway, I got Butler's Honeycomb Crisp milk chocolate, and so it has hunks of honeycomb in it and some crisp rice. But I think the proportions are right. Like I've had honeycomb crisp where it's like big hunks, and that like takes over the chocolate, right? And this you get if you just chomp on it, you get the chocolate paired with the honeycomb. The honeycomb's I think just the right texture. It's not too crunchy, not too soft and sticky. It all breaks up nicely, so you can kind of enjoy the textures there and the blending of flavors.
Yeah.
And it has a nice aftertaste too, which sometimes chocolate doesn't.
Yeah.
It's too
But
dark.
then you can also let it soak in your mouth, which I don't think we'll be doing. Soak? That sounds gross. Dissolve in your mouth.
Not on air.
I don't think we'll be doing on the podcast. Get it nice and juicy.
Yeah.
And then you can taste the rice more, right? Because it
Oh,
dissolves in
sure.
layers then.
So that is sort of, that's like going on genius.com and reading the annotations and getting into the lore of the album versus just listening to it to listen to
And also
it.
there's honey in it, which bees make honey. When there's a muzzle of bees in this album.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one.
And hummingbirds. I mean, I don't think they like honey, but they like
They like
nectar.
sweet stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Should we try it?
I'm so
My mouth
excited
is
to try
watering
it.
after
Yeah.
John's explanation. I'm just like,
We'll
dude,
be sure to
sounds
do this
so
into the
good.
mic with
Yes.
lots of mouth sounds.
That's really good.
I have to mute the audio.
Like you said, John, like it's just like
Yeah.
yummy little bits, like yummy little treasures in your chocolate.
And it's milk chocolate because it melts so nice.
That's pretty smooth.
This would be so good to make like a s'more out of.
Oh,
It would be an
my God.
expensive s'more,
Yeah.
but artisanal. That's so yummy. And it doesn't even get stuck in your molars. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
we're doing more chocolate pairings. This is great.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous road to go down.
Welcome to Snack Album Snacks.
Yeah.
Where we have
Another
snacks.
great spin-off idea. Please keep coming.
We're full of them.
So good.
Should we get into the first track of this album?
I think we have to.
This is one of the ones I took notes on.
Oh, great. Let's hear about it.
Perfect.
All right. So at least that's what you said. Basically, it's two songs in one. And I think that's something that Wilco does really well. Like a number of their songs, and this album as a whole kind of takes you on a journey. And I love the way it's recorded and mixed and mastered really dynamically. It's not like what you would think of like a modern recording where, all the levels are really adjusted, where you can hear everything really clearly. Like this is one where you find yourself working the volume control, right? To hear different parts. And especially if you're listening on the road, like you really need to adjust certain sections. But I think if you are able to have like a headphone listen with it without a lot of background noise, you can really appreciate the dynamic beauty that they set up, where it's got this quiet piano intro, very low, And then a minute and a half in, the band kicks in and it's like a tornado just ripped into the room. And I think the track sets the tone and the scope for the entire album in that way. The opening stanza is just it's dripping with this raw sadness. And it does this thing that you can expect from a lot of the lyrics on this album, and I think Wilco more generally, where the meaning seems to transform as you listen to the track. So here's, I marked down the first stanza. When I sat down on the bed next to you, you started to cry. I said, maybe if I leave, you'll want me to come back home. Or maybe all you mean is leave me alone. At least that's what you said. That last line there totally transforms what you were thinking.
Yeah, it changes.
he was saying. I added the guitar interludes weren't improvisations, which I don't know. Like I guess, just assume that, if there's a guitar solo, it's, partly improvised. That's probably a totally wrong assumption to be making about.
In blues and jazz it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, just reading that, like all of it was pre-planned and overdubbed in Pro Tools. And I imagine probably there was punching in and cutting and pasting to kind of craft the guitar solo. I don't know, kind of almost makes me appreciate it more that there is this whole compositional element to that aspect of the song. I think it's at 4 minutes. There's some really cool drum work going on from Glenn Kochi. And I think in general, just if you listen to the drums and the guitar combined on that guitar solo section, that's your clue that it was pre-composed, right? Because the bass snare pattern really completely locks into that. But there's this really cool cymbal thing that goes on at the 4 minute mark where Koshi's filling around the kit. It sounds like a drum roll, but there's all these cymbal crashes that come in unexpected times. And I'm a guitar player, but I know enough about drums to know that that's a really hard thing to do.
To put them on the really, really offbeat, right?
Yeah.
Where you're not hitting them with your kick and your snare.
Yeah, and it's not your typical, drum set rock fill that you would expect.
Sure,
like this is totally his own thing. Like I don't know who else plays like Glenn Kochi. I tend to do things when I'm listening to music.
Same.
And I appreciated sitting down in prepping for this episode, sitting down listening to it, because I just noticed things so much differently. When I first heard this, I was painting. Not, artistic painting, but like painting a room, right? And on this track in particular, I didn't realize that there was that intro. Or not the intro, but the song part of it, right? Like I thought that the whole track was just this guitar solo. And so it was probably like months until I listened with headphones. I was like, oh my God, I never knew this part was
There's
this whole sad
This is a song.
Yeah, because all the meat is in the second half, right? It's backloaded, all that beautiful guitar tone, and it's so great.
I also had a note about the guitar tones, Zach. I'm so glad you brought it up. Good. Well, because we pretty recently talked about Uncle Tupelo, which is like Jeff Tweedy and some of the other founding members of Wilco's like alt country product pre-Wilco. But there's kind of this cool like bluesy, almost country tone on this guitar that you could kind of hear in that soundbite. And I was into it.
I was trying to find what guitar he's using. Do you know, John? Is
that
a Strat?
I don't. I think
the
thing I've kind of been obsessed with is what effects are being used.
Yeah.
Something wild. Something really, really finely crafted.
On. Yeah. Do you have guitar pedals? Do you use guitar pedals?
Yeah, I use them on my bass.
Guitar pedals? Are you a guitar pedal guy?
I do, and I think I know. I couldn't tell you specifically like what brand or model, but I think for a lot of the album I can pick out. This is a combination of. Delay set to about this and pitch shifter and this and that. But there are a couple moments on here where it's coming, I think, more like on this solo in particular, it's coming more from Tweedy's hands, than, I mean, there is delay on that part.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of a touch, a feel thing.
Yeah. How he's touching the strings.
Yeah.
And maybe the amp too even, right? It's a really warm tube amp almost.
Yeah,
sound.
for sure.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the lyrics real fast before we move on.
Go.
John actually brought Jeff Tweedy's book, How to Write One Song, and I'm reading Jeff Tweedy's other book, Let's Go So We Can Get Back, which is kind of his memoir. And in it, and it made so much sense after I read this section, he's talking about one of the ways he used to write songs is he would read the lyrics to his mom, and if he felt embarrassed or shy about it, he knew he was touching something real. And I'm like, yeah, that makes so much sense with these lyrics. They're all so poetic and so like, ouch.
Sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the lines I wrote down was, I thought it was cute for you to kiss my purple black eye, even though I caught it from you.
Oh, yeah.
Ouchie.
Yeah.
And then that's followed up with, I still think we're serious.
Oof.
Like,
In the first song, guys.
well, and these kind of, as I was going through the lyrics on every one of these, the story with the album is that Tweedy was being overcome by addiction to opioids and migraines, right? And the two kind of went hand in hand, which I can relate to, not the opioid part, but the migraine part. Like I get migraines constantly. And I didn't know that when I'd first heard this, but man, now like hearing, that was like a piece of this puzzle, like it makes sense on a lot of these tracks. Like, I can hear that in the sound. I wonder how many of the songs on here are completely personal or how many are being written as a character, right? Where the narrator is a personality. Because that's something that Tweedy talks about in the How to Write One Song book quite a bit, right? Like is writing from a different perspective. So is this a completely personal album or is it a personal album written from these characters?
Interesting.
So, I mean, if
Yeah.
this is Tweedy, then this is a pretty revealing thing to be saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll never know because his lyricism is so metaphorical, right? Unless he like wrote about it or in his book or in an interview.
Right, yeah.
We'll never know what it really is.
Where he's like, my old coworker Lisa is a bitch. Then it's Tweedy. But if he's like, the bird with a broken wing kissed me gently. It's like,
Like, I don't know,
who's the
Jeff.
bird?
Yeah, and that could be about IKEA.
It could be about IKEA.
And that's a really cool writing style, I think, because it leaves it up to the listener, which is one half of art, right? The person who makes it and the person who not consumes it. That's a gross word to say.
Yum, yum, yum. Eat it all up like a little bar of chocolate.
The person who experiences it.
I'm excited to talk about the next song.
Okay, go for it.
Just briefly. So I want to set it up for the listeners at home. Track number 2 is called Hell is Chrome, which is sort of this song where the narrator describes their experience like maybe metaphorically, maybe literally, like going to hell. But instead of this scary doom place, this happens.
Oh, okay, what's going on here? Why is everything chrome?
Everything is chrome in the future.
Oh, my. Impossible. He's lying.
Didn't know Jeff Tweedy was in the SpongeBob cinematic universe. Well, actually, he is.
Is he really?
Do you guys know about this? Do you know about this?
No.
John?
Is Wilco in SpongeBob? Yeah. You're freaking kidding me.
He's got a song in the SpongeBob movie.
Really?
Oh my God, we might have unlocked the meaning of the song.
Oh my goodness.
Everybody, 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 everybody. Everybody, everyone, somebody, anyone has to grow up and have some fun.
Sounds like it
Cute.
could be an outtake on their Star Wars album.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was in the SpongeBob movie.
Wow. I'm learning so much.
But yes, so Hell is Chrome. Squidward is or is not there.
Squidward doesn't make an appearance in the song, but truly the narrator gets to hell, and instead of this like scary, fiery, rocky, horrible death trap, it's like this very clean, bright, chrome place. It almost evoked like a doctor's office kind of vibe to me. Yeah. But the devil is there.
The devil is there.
And he's helpful.
Oh.
And it's not scary, despite what people may think about hell. At least from this narrator's account. And that was sort of my interpretation of it.
I guess I took this as to be the hell that he's describing maybe is the rehab facility.
Oh.
Right? Like a hospital setting.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then,
And then it's nice.
As he gets checked in, come with me.
Yeah.
I like the economy of the lyrics. I mean, there aren't a lot of lines to it, right? And "come with me" repeats over and over and over again. And I love the way the band is pretty muted, pretty subdued the entire time, but then it's kind of building in subtle intensity as that "come with me" line is repeated, I guess showing like the seduction of the devil.
Wow, that was
That went so over my head.
John's good at this.
It went over the genius annotations heads too.
I saw people online that said maybe it's heroin needles, but I don't know if heroin was
He wasn't
was
really
Tweedy's thing.
No,
Yeah.
But again, maybe it's from a character that
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who knows if this
Who freaking knows?
I love the writing style because he's using a lot of imagery, right? Or like short sentences. And some of it reminded me like a Robert Frost poem, right? Like where it's just like pretty and sweet and little.
right where like a lot is said without saying much.
Yeah, exactly. Do you guys have any thoughts about spiders?
I had one note. I love the opening lines of this song. Spiders are singing in the salty breeze. Spiders are filling out tax returns, spinning out webs of deductions and melodies on a private beach in Michigan. I think that is an adorable picture to paint. And the one note I wrote down was, spiders are committing tax fraud?
What a wordsmith Jeff Tweedy is.
What a
bunch of good
wordsmith.
words to throw together.
I also have a fun fact about this song. So this one's kind of a longer one. And as we mentioned earlier, Jeff Tweedy at the time was really in the throes of some pretty tough migraines. So when they were recording this, a lot of the time they kind of had to structure the recording sessions around like Jeff's ability to remain vertical and record because it was something that was really debilitating. So this is an 11-minute song, which, you know, for a vocalist and a guitar player, physically, especially if you get chronic migraines, could be difficult to do time and time and time and time again. They did 2 takes ever of this song in the studio.
Wow.
This is the first one.
It's a
And the
damn
second
good
one,
thing.
the second one was never completed.
Wow, because he had a migraine.
Yeah.
And I was reading too, that's why they kept the chord progression so steady. It's just one chord a lot because he had a migraine. He didn't want to play a bunch of chords while he was singing.
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating.
And I thought that was so cool, especially like a guy I idolize a lot, right? And to me, like every decision he makes is this magical, artistic, creative decision. But like sometimes it's just convenient.
It's practical.
He just
Yeah.
I'm gonna play some of that intro.
Yeah.
Just so we can vibe with it for a second. So yeah, the fact that there's like no chord changes for 2 minutes is just so like I love it. I think it grooves so hard, but that it was just because he had a migraine in the studio. It's so
Literally.
funny to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the track is super hypnotic. My interpretation, I mean, like no one knows what it's about, right?
Right.
And I couldn't find anywhere where he
What the fuck is Kid
explicitly
Smoke?
says, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And the interpretations are pretty out there, you know,
Yeah.
what different people think. I'd always taken it to mean that spiders are people, but he's referring to spiders because he feels disconnected from society, right? Or, you know, just disconnected from things, right? So he sees other people as like inhuman, right? And my friend his family had a shoreline property in Michigan that they bought in the 70s for cheap. And now the area is super expensive, you know, $1 million vacation homes there. And so it was like going to a different world when we'd go hang out at his vacation house because his house was still like from the 70s and totally didn't fit with all the gigantic, McMansions that were there on the beach. And just going there to like be in that neighborhood around the wealthy people whose vacation home was 10 times the size of my home.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that disconnection. So I don't know, like that kind of added a layer to it. Like there's got to be a reason why he's saying on a private beach in Michigan and on a Michigan shore.
And calling them spiders, right?
Yeah.
I think that's an okay thing to call the bourgeoisie.
Yeah. In their web of high tax brackets. Squish them.
Goodness. And so another insect reference here, a muzzle of bees.
True.
This is a country tune.
Yeah.
This is like the countryest tune on the album, I think.
I said it was kind of giving me Jack Johnson.
Yeah, right?
Like strummy, pretty chill as far as this album goes, because this album can get kind of like
A little
not
intense.
necessarily like no, I'm gonna say heavy. I'm gonna say heavy.
Yeah, heavy's a good word.
Parts of it are like not definitely rewarding to listen to, but not easy to listen to.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, like worth the listen.
Yeah.
But not like you're not gonna put it on the aux when you're driving, some friends in the car.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to.
I really like that recurring riff that they have on there. That seems like the whole band does, right? It's guitar, piano. I think bass does it sometimes, like during the verses. And check out this line here. I just love how sad this is. I'm assuming you got my message on your machine. I'm assuming you love me, and you know what that means.
Oh.
So for the younger people, a message on a machine was an actual tape machine that recorded a phone call analog, and you had to press play on it.
You had to insert 3 vials of blood into it. Recite some backwards verse.
And then maybe you would know if your friend from down the street called you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would get full.
Yeah.
I remember having so much fun recording my outgoing message.
Yeah.
There's
now-
a lot of pressure there.
Yeah. And then thinking back years later and being so embarrassed by the stuff that I said.
There's like a whole Friends episode about that, I think. I want to play the guitar solo at the end of this tune. It might be the same riff John's talking about. It ends in like this beautiful, like starts off slow, and then by the end it's like that huge guitar tone, and it's like comforting. That's the feeling I get by this guitar solo. Let me know if you guys feel the same. Word.
I want to drive through the mountains to that song.
It's hard to get through, but it's worth it, like you were saying.
Yeah, and I think that's 2 guitars, like a double track thing,
yeah.
right? Where they're doing similar but not always things.
It kind of reminds me of, God, I was going to say take a shot every time I bring this up, but I've brought it up probably.
Eat a chocolate.
Well, I've probably brought it up like 3 times over the course of the podcast. So like it really wouldn't happen very often.
It's not a very good game.
It's not a very good game. You would just have a shot like
Once every
sometimes.
6 months.
Right. But it reminds me of Up in Hudson by Dirty Projectors.
Oh, sure.
The end of that song kind of devolves into just this like wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
With these really, it's still like, it's crazy. The guitar's going nuts, but it's still like fun and nice to listen to.
Yeah.
Because you've got this fun drum, you got a cool little bit of bass, like you're still grooving to it, and you're still grooving to this. You
100%.
can do that and still have an enjoyable experience.
Good.
There are parts of this album that does that, and it's not as enjoyable.
It's a
And
little
it's not
less
supposed to
enjoyable.
be.
Yeah. And that's a cool thing about music is like you can use it to sound bad, and that has meaning.
Well, not bad as in like poorly executed, but bad as in like not fun to listen to, but
Yeah.
still intentional.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The dissonance is on purpose.
I'm assuming you're talking about the noise jam.
We'll get
We'll
okay.
get there.
We'll talk about less than you think. That's a little teaser for the audience.
Is Hummingbird the title track, or is this a single off the album?
Yes,
Or is
it
this
I
just
think
one
I'm
of
a
the
Wheel was the single.
Okay, but this is one of the big songs off the album, right?
This, man, I think is one of the best songs ever written.
Beautiful.
It's so good. In Jeff's book, we're on a personal basis now. I'll call him Jeff.
Oh, of course.
We're buds. He talks about how his dad will say things like, you should write more songs like Hummingbird.
Yeah.
And Jeff's like, maybe I should.
Well, I remember I was also reading, I think, part of that quote, and he was also like, I don't know how I wrote it. I don't know how I got there.
It's not like a formula, just...
Oh my God.
I want to give a quick shout out to Karen Waltuck. That is the viola player on this song.
Okay.
And that viola is
Chef's kiss.
gorgeous. I think it just adds this. I love when these like very classic orchestral string instruments intersect with like electric guitar. It's something that just scratches my brain real nice. So I wanted to give her flowers.
Yeah.
Send her some chocolate. So,
John, tell us what's the meaning behind this one of Hummingbird? There's kind of a story, right?
Yeah. Well, first, I love how it evolves gradually, and a couple songs on this album are like that, where it starts as a piano and vocal duet. That sounds like it could be like the opening of a Broadway musical.
Yeah.
But then it ends in this explosion of sound, and the contrast in the lyrics, the loneliness of the lyrics, to this music that's almost like bubbling along and cheerful is really stark, and I think that's a really like effective juxtaposition. The first chorus, I figured this one out on guitar, and I was like, oh my God, I never realized this. The first chorus brings us to a pivot to the minor key, but it almost sounds like a different key. And then we change keys completely in the third verse, and everything goes up higher.
Yeah.
And I think that there's tone painting there, right? Where the whole sound of the band and his vocals shift up, and it coincides with the repeating of his goal in life was to be an echo, the type of sound that floats around. So you imagine like that, the sound that you're hearing is the sound of, the narrator floating above the world. And I thought it was clever too that Tweedy chose to repeat his goal in life was to be an echo, which is in itself an echo of the first verse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when you get down to it, there's just like every 4 to 8 bars has something different to notice. And when you look at the chords and you analyze the lyrics, there's a lot there. And you have to assume, or at least I do, I assume it was all with intention.
Yeah.
I think, if Tweedy can write an autobiography and write a book about writing music, then I don't think it's all just happening by accident.
It would be a very happy accident. Yeah.
One of the greatest songs.
I think we need to play a little bit.
I think so.
Sound that floats around and then back down like a feather. But in the deep chrome canyons of the loudest Manhattans, no one could hear him or anything.
I think he's channeling his Woody Guthrie, his Bob Dylan right there. He's almost doing that Bob Dylan accent. And his dreams. And I wish I worked on my Bob Dylan accent for this.
I'd love to hear the tracks on this isolated. Sometimes you can find those on YouTube, right, where it's just the vocals or just the bass. It'd be so rewarding, I think, to be able to hear each of these individual parts.
Yeah.
It needs a Song Exploder episode so bad. I'm going to write someone a strongly worded email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever have Tweedy as a guest on the show, I think that's something to bring up.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, can we get the Pro Tools session?
Can we have the stems, please?
What album would Jeff Tweedy pick? Probably like a Ramones. He'd probably pick something from his punk influence.
Oh, you think?
I think so.
Television.
Oh, okay.
Marquee Moon.
Ooh, I think he would choose Kesha's Animal.
That's just wishful thinking. Oh, that's not the next song.
I was going to say, I could use the bathroom. What if it was called High Five Drugs?
That's a great segue into the next track we're going to talk about.
Were you recording?
Yeah, I just hit recording.
Not a very inconspicuous way to pass off drugs with a high five.
You're downtown, you kind of have it in your pocket. Here you go, friend.
Depending on the drug, it is more appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you miss and you drop your crack on the street.
You're getting some fresh nugs. I want to give you a high five for them, dude. I don't want to shake your hand for them.
I want to aerate it.
Yeah.
All the way down.
But I was listening to the song the first time through, and I did not realize. I was like, what's a handshake drug? Like, is it a verb or is it a noun? But what John was saying is, it's a reference to how you would deal drugs in the city is pass it off as a handshake, but you really just slipped someone some
sneaky.
Some drugs.
To me, this tune shows just how good Wilco is with a groove that slowly unfolds. There's this gradual tempo change that happens over the course of the track, which I hadn't noticed until this time when I sat down and listened with headphones and just only listened to the song. And I gotta assume it's intentional, right? Because it's for as good of a band as they are to gradually speed up. That's got to be an intentional decision. And I think it was just another tool that they used to build up the arrangement as the song's intensity built. You have these layers of rhythm instruments and these lead guitar interjections, but there are also some little bass lead licks, and there's this thing called the RMI Roxachord or Roxychord, I'm not sure how to say it, that Michael Jorgensen is credited with playing. And it looks like a keyboard, like an old like Wurlitzer style keyboard that has, you know how organs have those buttons that you press for different sounds. So it's got that kind of deal, but it's cool and distorted sounding. Yeah, it's really awesome. I would like to buy one.
It's neat looking.
Yeah, and they sound awesome. And I think that the song and also the drumming, but I think the song as a whole is kind of a nod to the Velvet Underground's "Waiting for the Man." I'm not sure if you're familiar with that song, but that tune's about buying heroin. And this arrangement is kind of similar to that Velvet Underground song. And the drums are kind of similar in the sense that Kochi isn't playing the full kit. Like, you don't hear any cymbals on this track. It's all kick, snare, tambourine, and there's like a clicky clacky sound in there. I think that's something that he's playing. I'm not sure what that is though.
Do you think that's a direct homage, a direct
I
tip
think
of the
it
hat?
is, yeah, because I listened to an interview with Kochi, and I know that Maureen Tucker from the Velvet Underground produced one of his albums, and he was talking about what an influence her playing is on his. So yeah, I think it is. Whether they, said, let's make this sound like Velvet Underground or not, but I think it definitely does.
It definitely does.
Oh, and the end of the song I think is fascinating as they fade out the band and the guitar and keyboards are just like dissolving into this wash of distortion and reverb. And I don't know, like I think distorted keyboard is just a really special thing.
There's lots of cool artsy choices on this song and the album in general.
And I think you could kind of make a parallel to the experience of like going to purchase drugs and then taking the drugs.
And then experiencing is a distorted keyboard what drugs sound like?
Yeah, I don't know firsthand, but sort of like
opioids, at least.
the song is starting the way it starts, you're meandering, you're going downtown, it's slowly speeding up as you're about to meet the guy. Maybe you're getting a little more nervous.
Right.
Your heart's pounding a little bit, you're waiting, you're excited to, and then go a little stoned or whatever.
Do you guys have anything to say about this next track, Wishful Thinking?
Tweedy's like sort of the lead writer on most, if not all of these, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. It might sort of mirror his experience of not only kind of being in the throes of addiction, but also like having sort of a neurological issue going on at the time with migraines, right? But it felt like kind of like being dizzy and disoriented in a rock club.
It's hard to follow these lyrics.
Yeah.
And maybe he picked them just for mouthfeel.
That's true.
Because he's got another writing technique that's really cool, and you can actually find some of these demos. He calls them a mumble track. Do you remember reading about those, John?
Oh, yeah, that's how I write music.
It's really cool. I need to try it. So he'll get a musical idea, the chord progression, something, and then he focuses on the melody. To him, the melody is the most important thing. And so he'll just mumble it, whatever ad lib he feels like, and then he'll go add words to that after.
That just sort of would fit that bill.
Yeah.
I see.
And so it might be words that have the same mouthfeel as his mumble track, right?
And I think I heard it, I couldn't find it, but there's an interview I heard, I thought it was on Sound Opinions, where he was talking about that line in Theologians, I'm a cherry ghost. And I think that came from mumble singing. And it was just something that they liked the sound of, and he thought like, all right, I guess it kind of fits. I'll keep it.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you look up people's interpretation because they're trying to ascribe all this meaning to what is a cherry ghost? What does this mean?
Yeah, but really it's
just kind of happens.
And I think that's a cool way to write songs. I think Fish does that, where they just write words that are good, but not necessarily intentionally meaningful. But that's kind of a weird word to say for words meaningful. Like they've still got meaning, even if it's the word cherry ghost.
But it's a little more like voice as instrument versus voice telling story.
Sure, yes.
It's more like music tell music story.
Music tell story.
Word no tell story.
Word no tell story.
Word tell sound. That feel good.
Just evolved into Hulk talk.
Yeah.
Podcast good.
Why use more word when few word would do trick?
Next track.
Company in my back.
This is probably like the most poetic and artsy and sweet. Is that a cool word to call Jeff Tweedy? He's probably a sweet guy.
It was almost like Shakespearean.
But to talk about a one-night stand, I think the interpretation is that it's a one-night stand.
Mm-hmm.
He said that this song was written from the perspective of an ant at a picnic.
An ant having a one-night stand?
Yeah, and so that's like, maybe initially that's what it was, but I don't know. I mean, when you read the rest of the lyrics, I'm like, I don't see how that fits.
He just accidentally alluded to a one-night stand when really he was alluding to a bug's life.
Interesting.
He was originally talking about the big caterpillar who's kind of funny. He's kind of like the wet blanket, but it just accidentally comes off as this one-night stand.
So Kurt Cobain used to just make up things.
Yeah.
You know, when an interviewer asked him, what's this song about? What's the meaning of your band name? Just make up off-the-wall things, and then that would get printed and people would talk about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, maybe... I don't think Tweedy's doing that, is he? Is he just making it up? Yeah, it's about an ant, sure.
That's kind of like, who was I just looking at who Robert Pattinson came out and said that he just lies in interviews just for fun, which I think is an amazing way to spice up a press junket. Just feel like, yeah, oh my God, I'm such a huge fan of cucumber sandwiches.
Well, have you ever watched like a late night show and how there's like a weird formula?
Yeah.
Where there's always like a little bit of banter and then a story.
Right.
And they do that on purpose. And then did you see the Nathan For You? Where he crafted a perfect story. He watched like 10,000 hours of late night. and then like crafted the perfect interview story. And then actually did it. He like paid someone to pretend to plant ashes and then pretend to get arrested. So it all really happened, but he just facilitated it. And then he told that story on late night.
Like Fallon late night?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I think you can just do whatever you want in the public eye.
Yeah. And then fools like us are going to be like, what does it mean?
What does it mean? Where's the ant? I'm control effing ant on this genius.com page. No. Rady ant.
Well, I think this is like a perfect thing because we're saying like, okay, Jeff said it in the book, like blah, blah, blah. It's written from the perspective of an ant. This silly Billy on genius.com for the line, I attack with love, pure bug beauty. A comparison between how approaching a stranger with lustful intentions can come off as sweet yet creepy, and how bugs can have a beautiful exterior but still easily creep you out. It's like, what if it's just a bug?
He's taking a lot of liberties there.
Yeah.
So I played, my kid's 12 now, but I'd played this album for them quite a few times over the years. Okay. And when they were 4 years old, I think, really loved that he says, holy shit on this song.
Yes!
That was, and I love that it's almost hidden in there. REM does that a lot. Or did that a lot too, right? Where you would have Michael Stipe would be singing "Beep Me," and it's just hidden in the middle of this like beautiful.
It's really
line,
subtle,
where it's.
But it's also funny.
It's like, wait, what did he just say?
It's like a funny little okay, if we were painting the picture of a one-night stand, you wake up after a night at the club and you turn around, holy shit, there's a naked person in my bed.
Yeah.
Like sort of that realization. I think that was a funny little
It's exactly the right word for it.
Yeah.
I'm a wheel.
Zach, your intro. Listen, I respect Jeff Tweedy and Wilco at large as artists. That being said, I think the lyric, once in Germany, someone said 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, is silly. I think that's so silly.
It's a little low-hanging fruit.
It's a little low-hanging fruit. That being said, this is the song that's been stuck in my head all week.
There's something really catchy about it. That's
I just keep doing that.
It's just fun to count to 9 that fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Like we sort of talked, it's reminding me of, we talked about, John, do you know Kim Petras?
No.
Okay, she's a German, but she lives in LA now. Pop artist.
Okay.
She's awesome. And she releases yearly like Halloween EPs. So one of them was called Death by Sex. And in the chorus, the chorus is like death by sex, 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 sex. But she's German, so it's saying 666, like the devil. So I think that if we're gonna talk about like thoughtful uses of German in English songs,
That one wins.
I think Death by Sex is my number one. But this one's still catchy.
This one's still okay.
Yeah.
To me, this song is just a fun break from all the seriousness.
Yeah.
I mean, it still has the line where that kind of pulls you back to that, I'm a wheel, I'll turn on you. Like,
Yeah.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't know. To me, this is just the band having fun.
Yeah.
And musically, there's some cool stuff in there, too, if you kind of zero in on what's going on in the drums. And there's some kind of like Beatles-esque bars that are either short or longer by a few beats, right? That kind of like mess with your expectations. So it's just like a fun get in, get out kind of quick musical outburst, I guess.
Yeah, this one's boy time. This is jam sesh. Yeah.
I can't think of another song, at least, where Tweedy does that like Rod Stewart scream that he does at the end. Like, I want to hear more of that.
Yeah. Tasty.
I can't imagine doing that with a migraine. Oh my God.
Right. His vocal coach was like, Jeff, we talked about this. Yeah, damn. Yeah, this one's fun. Theologians don't know nothing about Jeff Tweedy's soul. Or do they? They might try. The people on Genius.com leaving annotations think that this song is from the perspective of Jesus.
I know he likes to do that in his writing, but I don't know if he would pick Jesus. I mean, he picked an ant.
Highbrow, lowbrow.
Is that the opposite of Jesus?
So I think on this one, I'm most inclined to think that this is written from his perspective. I mean, he had said afterward that he had intended for this album to be memoirs, not the right word, but a way for his sons to remember him because he didn't think he was going to make it. Thought is never going to climb out of the pit of addiction, right? And so to me, this song kind of like sums up what the whole album is. So I think that this is on the one hand kind of saying that, like, and also saying his views on God, religion, the afterlife.
Yeah.
Saying that you don't need to follow, any specific religion says or any religious scholar says, that it's more about feeling it. Like if you feel it, then that's legitimate too.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of thing that you come to terms with when you're facing death in the face. Right?
Yeah. And this is also not really our title track, but it's got the title in it, A Ghost is Born. Right after the line, no one's ever going to take my life from me. I lay it down. A ghost is born. Which you were talking about how at the very beginning of the episode, how the song changes once you get to a certain lyric. Now the whole album changes once you get to a certain song, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, what a line too. A ghost is born.
Yeah.
And the only way that a ghost can be born is if someone croaks.
When a mommy ghost and a daddy ghost love each other very much.
This one also has Cherry Ghost. Lots of ghost talk.
It was fun looking up the interpretations of this. Like you had mentioned the Jesus one. There, I found a bunch of religious blogs that had a lot of takes on it, and there was one analysis of what cherry ghost means. So I had written 4 separate questions, things that I wanted to remember to look up, just things that I wondered about the album. So one of them was cherry ghost ? And Chris Bronsdorf on Quora said, even though Tweedy may have said in an MTV interview that he didn't know what it meant, in another interview with Bob Edwards from NPR, I think, in 2004, he said Cherry Ghost was meant to evoke the sweetness of people's memories of someone once they passed. So a cherry ghost is a sweet memory that lives on.
Interesting.
Which, like, that fits nicely.
That's
I don't
my
know if it's
favorite
true,
one
though.
so far. Yeah.
I have a conflicting interpretation, not of my own, but of Genius.com. This anonymous contributor said that cherry here, they got bold with it. They said cherry is used to mean something new. For example, I am a new ghost. A ghost is born.
I'm thinking like a cigarette cherry. Like that's right. Is that like the cherry of a lit cigarette?
Yeah, but that's just hot and on fire.
Yeah, I
Maybe
guess
it's
so.
a hot on fire ghost.
I don't know.
Wasn't there I couldn't find it, but isn't there another, like the album cover's an egg, right? But
Yeah.
isn't there another, like an alternate album cover? Or maybe it was the cover of one of the singles or something that has a ghost that's like holding a cherry? Or maybe I dreamt this or something.
I definitely.
And it looks like kind of like an anthropomorphized Pac-Man ghost.
I'm gonna find it, but I've seen what you're talking about.
I remember not liking that image.
Yeah, no, I definitely prefer an egg. It's
The egg
nice,
is good.
It's nice to look at.
It's good marketing. You can just be like, hey, it's the Egg album, and everyone knows which album you're talking about because it's the only one.
So Weezer has like the blue album.
Yeah, Wilco's got
Metallica
the Egg
has
album.
the black album. Wilco got the egg album. I'm excited to talk about the next song.
Go for
I'm
it.
very excited. Fun fact alert. This is Wilco's longest song in their entire discography
Wow.
at 15 minutes and 1 second. Wow. I wonder if their second longest was just 15 minutes. And they
just
were like,
15
haha,
minutes.
you motherfuckers.
Beat it. They had to extend the drone by 1 second.
This is kind of like I guess we've been talking about Tweedy's painkiller abuse and migraine situation at the time. And this song is really like the sort of illustration of dealing with that. It is a 15-minute long song. The first 3 minutes are song, and the last 12 minutes are just sort of this slow onset building to this almost like difficult to listen to 12-minute drone. Tweedy said is sort of supposed to mirror the experience of like a severe migraine onset.
Did you guys listen to all 12 minutes? You listened
I
through?
did.
Yeah, with my kid.
Wow.
How did they feel about it?
They liked it. But I think, because I talked to them ahead of time about what the intention was and
Yeah.
how the band, Tweedy had asked the band members to each craft their own, I guess, keyboard sound, right? And then they combined all of those. And I think that if you listen to this track from like how you might approach like a classical piece, knowing the intent of the composer, like I think you can appreciate it more. Otherwise, it is just a high pitched, irritating noise for 12
Yeah.
minutes.
I've also got a classical parallel. Are you familiar with the composer Lamont Young?
Yeah.
French composer from 1960s and 50s. And so he's got a piece, and I immediately thought of this piece when I heard the drone for the first time. And this is a piece called Composition 1916, number 7. And the only markings on this composition, this piece of music, is a musical staff, a whole note, and then a whole note a fifth above it. And the other word is to be held for a long time. And so people will perform this piece. They'll play the 2 notes and do exactly that.
Yeah.
And so this is a 43-minute piece, and I'm not going to play more than 43 seconds of it. And then I'll talk a little more about it.
Interesting. It's like trance music.
Yeah.
Kind of puts you in that place.
Yeah. And so when we studied this in school, we're asking the kind of this big, deep question that Jeff Tweedy's probably not asking when or maybe he is, I don't know. When he wrote this drone is, what is the music here? Is it written out? Is it what the band's doing? Because there's not notes, there's no melody. There's no. But one could interpret it that the music is all the subtleties. We heard a couple, right? We heard the bow come back. We heard another horn take a breath and come back. And so that can be kind of musical. And so when you listen to Jeff Tweedy's drone piece like that, you're like, oh, listen to all the different things that are adding and how the single pitch warbles and stuff like that.
I'm not sure why he chose to attach it to the song Less Than You Think. Like, why not make it its own track? What's the connection there? I wasn't able to figure that out.
I don't know. I mean, there are like really subtle ties where he says, like, your mind's a machine, it's deadly and dull. If we're talking migraines, your brain is a machine, but could malfunction. And maybe you're feeling kind of dull after you've
There's
had
the
a migraine,
line.
you're kind of out of it.
There's a line to toast to lightning, lightly tapping. It's high pitched and it hums.
Yeah.
You know, he could be referencing that second verse.
But again, this is all purely speculative. Because, like, there's not a clear draw between the two. It's like the song sort of ends and then the drone begins.
I think this is what ants hear when you mow the lawn. It's from the perspective of
It's
ants.
another ant song.
Another ant song! You've cracked it, Zach. You're so smart. John, I'm curious to hear your take on this song.
I mean, I think we kind of said it all already.
Yeah.
This one, I actually like the drone part better than the song part. For me, the song, although I like it, I don't think it's on the same level as the other songs. It doesn't have enough melody there for me. I couldn't tell you what the tune is on this one, like I easily could on any of the others, right? So I often, if I'm going to skip one, this would be it. But it's not because of the jam. I shouldn't call it a jam. Not because of the noise part.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which I think is usually what people would be skipping.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, my friend who had burned the copy of this for me back in the day actually edited out the noise part. So I didn't even know
really?
about that part until I bought my own copy of it later.
It was a secret track for so long.
Yeah.
I was so fascinated by this song when I was listening to it. Like, this one to me feels like a standalone, like, contemporary art piece.
Sure. Yeah.
And also sort of, and it could be an exercise, I think, in empathy for people who maybe don't. Not that this song literally induces a migraine into your head, but, like, I was thinking about it and I was like, people who do experience that constantly, like, I don't. The first couple listens did not listen to the whole, I skipped around through the drone. It was unpleasant. I was listening on my stereo system. I was like, this is not fun to listen to.
Your poor neighbors.
And then I thought about it a little more and I was like, someone who's having a migraine is not able to just skip the song, right?
Yeah.
Is not able to just turn it off. They have to, like, sit through it and deal with it until it passes one way or another. So I don't have migraines, but I was thinking about, like, panic attacks sort of as a comparable thing where you feel this slow sort of onset sometimes and then you have to just fucking ride it
You
out.
just gotta, yeah.
So yeah, this was just something where I felt closer to Jeff after listening to
That's
it.
cool.
And sitting down and doing the whole 12 minutes. I encourage you at home. Like, it's not easy or fun to listen to, but to really kind of put yourself in the brain of the writer and experience a fraction of what he was probably experiencing at the time.
Yeah, that's
encourage
cool.
you
I
to
like
do
that
it.
take a lot, Sarah.
Hearing
Thanks.
it again kind of brought back memories of when I was a teenager. I was really into the band Sonic Youth, and I'd seen them a couple times, and they would always have opening bands that were way more experimental than they were. And Sonic Youth could be a pretty experimental band. And so this reminded me of just the kind of band that would be opening for Sonic Youth and how it would really challenge your concept of what music actually is. Right, which I think, like, is kind of the thing with classical music, right? Like, or modern classical music, right? It kind of challenges your idea of what those sounds are and what your expectations should be. And I don't know, it's I guess a palate cleanser if nothing else, right? Like, it
That's a
kind of
great way to
shifts
put
your
it,
perspective.
right before the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what a way to bring it back in after the palate cleanser, right? This is a nice
God.
outro track.
Yeah. Can we just, like, play the start of Late Greats?
Yes.
The greatest lost track of all time. Late Greats turpentine.
Like, you've just sat
Jolly.
through 12 minutes. If you're a trooper and if you're a real one, you sat through 12 minutes of I don't think we're gonna play it on the air, but really tough.
Drone. I think Cameron should go add the drone in before the play of this one.
I agree.
Because that acoustic guitar sounds so much better in comparison to drone.
It sounds so much more like cheery and easy and digestible.
Yeah.
But it's still a really cool song.
Do you guys know the song Tribute by
Tenacious D.
Right, because it's also like Wilco's singing about a song right now, and the first thing I thought of was this Tenacious D song where they're singing about the best song ever written in the world. And so is Jeff Tweedy.
Doesn't he say that there's the greatest song in the world, but we forgot how it goes?
Yeah,
so this is a tribute to that
tribute
song.
to that song is the lyric.
You know who also did that?
Jeff Tweedy. No.
One Direction.
Oh,
With the song Best Song Ever.
that's a dumb song name.
And they don't remember how it goes, but it kind of went, oh. People been doing this shit.
So it's a trope. It's a common trope is what we're saying.
It's a good trope. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect album closer, and I appreciated this. I mean, I loved the song to begin with, but it really like leveled it up for me, knowing the context of what the album is about, knowing that it's this album about death and a tribute to the person that was Jeff Tweedy, right? Or the time capsule that's being passed on to the kids. And so in that context, then the late greats, all the undiscovered artists or bands that could have been that the song is about, that turns Wilco into one of those bands, right? Like that to me I was just mind blowing.
Yeah.
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 Very like a dream within a dream type of a
Alternate
song about a song.
timeline
Yeah.
type. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like a happy way to end things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it leaves a nice taste in your mouth, right?
Yeah, just like this chocolate.
Just like
Yes!
this chocolate.
Oh my
You
goodness, it's
brought it
like you're a
back.
podcaster.
And that's it, folks. That's the last track, or is there a bonus track we want to talk about?
It's not on most track listings of the album. It's an alternate cut.
Yeah. And there's a whole other album named after it too, right?
Yeah.
A live album.
Yeah, and I Can't Hear Kicking Television. This is another song that wasn't on my original. I should have eaten a mouthful of chocolate before talking. Nom, nom, nom. Okay. On my original CD I got, this wasn't on there. This is another song I didn't know existed until a few years ago.
Wow.
And so I can't listen to, I like the song, but I can't listen to it with
It
this
doesn't
album.
really fit.
It's not
Like,
it.
yeah.
It doesn't. I would like to say canonically it's not there. We don't have to talk about it, but we can if we want to.
It's not part of this album's neat little package.
Yeah.
It's like
Subscribe to
I was about to say something mean, and I don't mean this to be. I was about to call it like a dingleberry on the album, which is not how I feel about the song.
That's some imagery right there.
It's not how I feel about the song, but you know what I mean? It's loosely attached and dragging along. I'm so sorry.
I lost what I was going to say.
Jeff
Sarah.
Tweedy, you have to come on the podcast.
Tweedy, please. I would like to extend my sincerest apologies to Jeff Tweedy directly.
I called your song a dingleberry in the best possible way.
With all the love in my heart.
Hey, we don't,
I love dingleberries.
I love it.
we don't always just do reviews. Sometimes it's hard-hitting music journalism. And we'll call you out if you write a dingleberry of a song.
I'm going to use that terminology, I think, as crude as it is. I'm going to use it in the future. If there's a closer that I don't think fits.
Sure.
Or isn't actually... Like, it would not have been on early like, vinyl pressings of this album.
Mm-mm.
I think that this was included. They had basically an EP download that you'd get if you bought the album online.
Okay.
And so I think this was part of that download.
The bonus
Yeah, in the
Jonas.
early 2004s, that was probably like a new thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. Use the internet for our secret
For our
track.
music on our MySpace page.
I kind of miss MySpace.
MySpace.com/Wilco.
It was like before the internet was horrible and toxic.
Right.
It was fun.
Right.
Yeah, you could like design your little page and like it never influenced elections or like did bad things.
It's just your little
It was
corner.
just like you had like 10 friends and More we let more friends. You always had one though. You always had Tom.
Tom, yeah.
Anything good?
Does MySpace still exist?
MySpace.com/Wilco/bio. So,
And it still takes you to a website that looks like MySpace?
yeah, it's actually like a music, like a Spotify paste type of thing now. Someone bought it a couple
Interesting.
years ago.
I wonder if Napster is still up there too then.
I don't know. Better be. All right, so
should we,
should do a Rebrewski.
Yeah, well, we each have things prepared, which is not typical.
Oh.
So I had done a most likely to age like wine. And for me, that's really what this is. Like, you can listen to it and it's good, but then the more time you spend with it, the better it gets.
Yeah,
That's good.
and it pairs well with chocolate. I like that.
I don't think we should go
Although
with
I'd say
that.
pretty much any album pairs well with chocolate.
No, we're saying something special here.
Well, wine pairs with chocolate, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, would you do the honors? We're asking you to do a little bit of character work.
Okay.
Sorry if we didn't prep you for this. Why?
We should start sending our co-hosts to like an improv
No,
class.
it's okay. I studied at Juilliard, so.
Oh,
Did
truly?
you?
No.
Oh my god!
No.
I was like, wait,
Oh, you talked about music school.
dingleberries to somebody
Wouldn't
with-
that be a nice surprise?
Like, that would be amazing.
I'm a Juilliard trained actor.
Goodness gracious.
I normally recite Shakespeare, but I'll give it a go.
It'll do.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring someone very special to the stage, someone we've been with for a long time, and we've seen a lot of great things, some trials, some tribulations, some ups and downs. We've been with them, though, every step of the way, and we couldn't be more proud. This award for most likely to age like wine, a fine wine, the finest of wines, a champagne, a Chardonnay, but never a Merlot,
No.
goes to Wilco, the band.
Yay!
That's the best Rebrewski.
Congratulations. That was a really good delivery.
right.
Exceeded expectations.
The Juilliard training paid off.
It really did. God, it's shining through. Folks, this concludes our episode. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, Jeff Tweedy, I'm so sorry. Unfortunately, we are Album ReBrews, and we will continue being Album ReBrews. If you want to check us out on Twitter and Instagram, we are at Album ReBrews. And if you want to take a look at our website, it is www.albumrebrews.com.
A giant thank you to Cameron Bopp for editing the show and writing our theme song, which we love to play all the time on repeat.
And getting around our mouth sounds this episode.
Yeah,
God bless
sorry
you.
for the mouth sounds. A giant thank you to you, the listener, for hanging out with us this long. We sure do appreciate you. If you like the show, consider telling your friends about us. We love that little bit of marketing. And lastly, a giant thank you to you, John, for coming on.
It's
and
been
hanging out with
my
us.
pleasure.
Make sure to go check out John's podcast, Song Surfing. You can find that at songsurfingpodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. He does what we do with a lot less shenanigans. He takes a really cool deep dive into tracks you might not have heard of and might not ever hear of unless you listen to his podcast. It's so good. Check it out. Anything you want to say to the folks before we hop off, John?
Well, I just want to say thank you to you. This was really fun.
Yeah.
Hey.
And I think I'm going to borrow the Dingleberry idea and incorporate that into song surfing now, too.
There
You
you
are
go.
more than welcome. So to close out, we're going to get very close to the mic and tenderly say goodbye to the person listening. So, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Farewell, listeners.